largest tour event. But there's also, I think, the record for the highest individual performance.
Right.
He's on 20 out of 28 with 8 rounds to go. I think the highest score ever is 27.
Yeah, he could break the record.
It's still some way away, but the way he's playing, like, you can't rule it out.
And he has
Exactly.
a second white piece.
By the way, Trompowsky
yeah,
again.
today is a Trump day.
It's not a day of the Catalan that brought him to this party, and he's played 92, similar.
Change it up a little bit, right?
Right. No C5 and Queen B6 as we saw in the NPL game, but he's quiet. I used to think of these not as the Kali system, because that's with the bishop on C1, but White usually is trying to play 95 and F4 and the Philidor.
He's included this check bishop e5 provoking c6, and then he's gonna go back to d3.
Back to d3, yeah. 95 was also interesting. I really don't like the way Aravindh treated the first. It's very rare to say I really don't like the first 5 moves a very strong player has made, but I don't. I think you've given White way too much freedom. You can go 95 again, c5, c3, and get a very pleasant position. And this is sort of exactly what you want out of a trump.
Absolutely.
95, f4, and that's a switch.
Very
switching
surprised.
to basically Queen's Gambit declined, where Black is instantly fine. I'm very
Right, now
surprised by
Black's
this.
setup actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Right.
I am really, really surprised by this.
That 95 and F4 very compelling. But okay, Knight takes D5, and I think Black is very close to equality suddenly after.
If even with taking with the pawn should be equal.
It should be fine.
I think maybe he could have played castles on the previous move, Aravindh that is, and postponed c5 for a bit. There was no real
Rush.
need to play c5 this early. C takes d5 isn't really a threat.
Well, here the hanging pawns, D4 takes C5, B6 takes C5. I do get the chance to play bishop F5, and that might be a little bit awkward.
I think Vladimir might go 95 and still try to get some advantage.
95 followed by immediately F4. You'd like to
I
stabilize
even
the
had some
knight.
ideas of Queen F3, but yes, he took
went
your
for-
advice.
Yeah, there's playing against hanging pawns. When you have bishops on F5 and G5 in particular, you have pressure. The rook doesn't easily come to C8, and it feels like White will get some kind of a plus. But okay, Peter.
I just wanted to say that you would really, really prefer to have the knight on c3, though.
Yes, that is true.
Having the knight on d2 removes so much pressure from the black center.
Yeah, the knight on D2 is not pressuring the pawn on
D5.
D5.
Yeah, D5 is pretty close. We have too many pieces on it.
Rook to D1, again, in conjunction with moves like bishop F5, there's going to be is this as comfy as knight takes e7 and keeping your opponent all gummied up might have been.
35 seconds for Aravindh to
I wanted to ask.
find something against White's king. Maybe queen h1, queen h5, threaten some discovery checks.
Okay, you drive the king into the center. Check, king e2, queen drops back to h5.
I want you to play f3 because maybe I'll take on e4 after that.
Knight c4, trying to...
I think bishop takes b6 would have just asked, where's your discovery? Do your worst. Knight c4 on the board. Peter, jump in. How dangerous is this? It looks
Not very,
scary.
but
It's not?
no, I think we're sort of in control. The question is how to win the cleanest, and including that bishop on c5 in defense. Yeah, well, bishop d4 check is very natural. You just want your pieces on the more protected squares, but
Ask a question. Where's
yeah, and also exactly pass the baton a little bit. F6,
Okay, f6.
and now I guess we take on c4 with something.
And then you can play f3 and you can always come
That-
to the king.
that-
Bishop g1.
You know, giving
That
yourself
consolidate.
knight a4.
Whoa,
I would have been
whoa.
reluctant to.
Rook takes e4.
He's gone for a version of the same. Yeah, but takes and f3, very strong.
So now I can go check.
Yeah,
No.
you play knight h6.
Yeah, I do
No,
also.
now bishop
You are kind of
g1,
resigned.
rook
Really
d7.
clear. White's completely got this.
Yes, now it's all with gain of
Arvind
tempo.
is playing with 1 second on the
Knight
clock.
d4, bishop takes c4. Yeah, White just has
A lot.
a lot more presence on the board.
Lot more
Knight
And,
d6 check.
and the white king is
Yeah, I think.
insufferably safe. Rook d7 check.
Not sure why we're continuing.
When do we start pushing the pawns, or are we playing for the checkmate?
G4 to give. I don't know. I mean, he might, but yeah,
Oh,
there.
he's coming for it.
Look at it.
Well, I mean, it
Now that knight on
presents
h6
itself.
knight on h6 is looking kind of silly. Yeah.
Bishop is going to.
Bishop f2 and then bishop f5 check eventually. Yeah.
Yes, this is what's happening. Bishop f5
I think
check.
this could be winning even without on e1.
And he has flagged quickly. Where do we go, Nasi?
Let's go to Levon's game. He